Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about how I care for my beautiful ALOCASIA JACKLYN. This thing is getting quite large. Typically when I do a care video on a specific plant, I like to talk about light first, as generally this is the most important thing for a plant. But I think one thing to understand with the JACKLYN, and I guess ALOCASIAs in general, is that they need consistency. So they need a consistent light source, watering, temperature, humidity, all that kind of stuff, which I'm going to talk about throughout this video. So let's get started. Alocasias are fairly easy to care for as long as they get their very basic needs. And in my opinion, this is one of the more hardier varieties out there. It just really hasn't given me any issues. If those basic needs are not getting met, just remember that these plants can go dormant. So you might start to see some droopy leaves. They might be turning yellow, or it might lose all its leaves from the entire plant. This can also be said for bringing a plant home from a greenhouse or a nursery or something like that. The conditions there compared to your house are probably greatly different, so just expect or anticipate some leaf drop, and it might actually go dormant. So just provide that consistent care, which again I'll be talking about here in a second, and you should start to get some new leaves. Don't throw it out if it doesn't have any leaves on it. Just check the stem, give it a couple little squeezes. If it's still firm, take it out of the pot, look at the root system. If everything looks okay in that sense, then just provide it that consistent light, water, and all that kind of stuff, and you should get some new leaves again. Most of my alocasias are downstairs here under grow lights. This is the mother plant spectrum, and then up here I do have the Soltech Highland track system, and then I do have a number of other bulbs and stuff for all of my alocasias downstairs here. And I find that they do very well under grow lights just because it provides that consistent light source. I do have all of my lights on timers for about 14 hours a day. I have a couple alocasias upstairs. I'll insert some footage. Right now, just because it's getting later in the fall, the light is less, so they're not doing as well as my plants downstairs here. So yeah, just keep that in mind that as the seasons change, so does your light source, and you may need to supplement your natural sunlight plants with some artificial light if it's if they're getting those yellow leaves, and if it looks like it's going dormant, it might be a lack of light from natural sunlight. I use a digital light meter to help me with the placement of my plants. I have this one right here, which I do have on my Amazon store, but you can get downloadable apps on your phone that'll do pretty much the same thing. So these plants, in my opinion, they need about medium light. So medium light in foot candles, I use the foot candle setting, is between 250 to kind of that 500 range. So when you place the light meter on the leaf, the light is, right now it's in low light, but as you go closer to the light source, you can see that the foot candles is obviously going up. So this leaf in particular is getting kind of that medium, higher end light, whereas this one right here, it's pretty well in low light. And then these ones over here, same thing, they're getting around 200 foot candles. So kind of that low to medium light, in my opinion, is what they generally need. No direct sunlight, otherwise you'll probably end up scorching the leaves. Now for soil, I either use just straight perlite, which I've had really good success with, or a really chunky soil mixture. You want to make sure that it is very fast draining. The reason why I think alocasias do so well in perlite is that it provides a lot of airflow to the roots. These roots need to breathe. They're fairly thin, but look at these roots, just crazy. Whereas if you have it in a fairly dense soil mixture, these plants, they're fairly prone to root rot. So I really haven't had that issue with just straight perlite, and I actually prefer this method. Yeah, these are super healthy roots. So far, a few of my plants, or a few of my alocasias, have been doing very well, including this JACKLYN, just in a straight aroid mixture. If you don't want to mix up your own soil, then I recommend this right here. This is VeryPlants Molly's Aroid Mix. For all of my new plants, this is the soil that they get, and you can see it's just a nice chunky mix. It's very well draining, and I highly recommend it. This one is the 10 dry quarts or 11 liter bag. It has obviously all the ingredients right on the packaging, so I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, if you're interested, go check it out. With both types of soils, I will water pretty well the same way until it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. Now for the soil, to determine whether it needs to be watered or not, I like to feel the weight of the pot. It feels a little bit heavy right now, and the way I determine whether the soil is wet or dry is I actually place a bamboo skewer in the pot. I push it all the way to the bottom, and when you pull it out, if there is soil sticking to the skewer, then that means that portion is wet or damp. So this is the soil line right here. You can see there's a little bit of soil about halfway down the stick or the bamboo skewer. So right about there, the soil moisture or the soil is damp. And you can actually feel it as well on the skewer. So right now it's a little over half. So this portion right here is dry and this portion right here is wet. So I will wait until it gets to be about 75% dry and 25% wet at the bottom. So I'm not quite there yet. And like I said, it still feels fairly heavy. Now for the perlite, it's very light right now, so I know this is dry. If you want a fail-safe way, just take a piece of perlite, squish it. If it turns to dust, or if there's dust on your fingers, then it is dry. So this one is pretty well bone dry, or almost dry. You might be able to see a little bit of condensation on the side of the pot. So this one is definitely going to get some water. I might wait maybe a few more days until I water the Jacklyn, just because I don't want to overwater this one. I premix or dilute my fertilizer in a 4-liter jug of filtered tap water, and then I place it in my watering can. But this is what I use. It is Dynagrow Foliage Pro. I use a very small diluted amount with each watering, and that's how I water both perlite and soil. Now, one thing that I've done recently that has, I would say, drastically changed the size of the leaves is that most houseplants need a slightly acidic soil. So I've been adjusting the pH of my water. So I've been testing it with this little Root Farm pH testing kit. Plants, or most tropical houseplants, need a pH of roughly between 5.5 to 6.5. My tap water is fairly alkaline. It's got a pH of 8. I adjust, or I bring down, so this is Root Farm pH down. I add this to the 4-liter jug of water, and that way it brings the pH down to a range where the plant can utilize or uptake nutrients. So if you have something that is too acidic or too alkaline, it just makes those nutrients in your fertilizer unavailable to the plant to use. So now I'm going to water my perlite, and I water it no different than a regular soil plant. So make sure everything is thoroughly watered. Let it come out the bottom of the drain hole. You can let it sit in a container of water to kind of soak up as well. Now, I will say that I probably have to water the perlite a little bit more frequently than if it was in soil, but I find the roots themselves are super healthy. It's actually popping out of the pot there. They're always looking really healthy, white roots. Like, yeah, I've had really good success with perlite. So, and that's how I water them, is I just lightly water the top, let it drain out the bottom, and then I'll set it aside. Same thing with soil. I will water it till it comes out the bottom of the drain hole and put it back in its light source. Here is a pump action spray bottle which has the filter tap water as well as the pH down solution. Sometimes I will add fertilizer in here as well for a foliar fertilizer, but I typically just have the water and pH down. I take these to the shower quite often to spray off the leaves, so the top of the leaf, the bottom, just for pest prevention. These are fairly prone to spider mites, and then you can water the plant with the watering wand here as well. So spray off the leaves, just making a little bit of a mess, but yeah, spray off the leaves top and bottom, and then make sure that the soil or perlite is thoroughly saturated, and until it comes out the bottom of the drain hole. You often hear that these plants need a ton of humidity. In my experience, downstairs here, generally it gets between 40 and 60%, and right now it's at 60. I don't know if you can see it or not, and it says the temperature is 22 degrees. That's another thing that we keep fairly consistent, is the temperature. Now in the winter we run the furnace so that it's around 22 degrees, and that's what we set the air conditioner for in the summer as well, around that 22 degrees. So the temperature is fairly consistent. The humidity, that's kind of the variable. In the summer it's very hot, not necessarily humid here in the Canadian prairies, but if we do get some rain, then we obviously get some humid days. But in the winter, it is very dry. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's around 30% without humidifiers downstairs here. So very dry in the winter, so I will be firing these humidifiers up throughout the winter months. But yeah, temperature is consistent, the light source is consistent, the humidity, I just have to add the humidifiers, but otherwise that's pretty well all I do to care for this plant. Now, I've been debating for the last couple days in preparation for this video if I should take this out of the pot to see if there's any corms. So I guess I can lead into propagation. So there's a couple ways you can propagate the plant. You can obviously see there are 3 separate stems in this pot. So all you need to do is take a utility knife or some pruning shears, remove it from the pot, and separate the stems or the rhizomes, and it should have its own root system. You can take one of these stems and then put it in its own pot, and that's how you can propagate it. They also have little corms in the soil, and then they also, sometimes you'll see what looks like a corm. Oh, I'm gonna bump this one. Popping through the soil. These are actually called bulbils, I believe, bulbils or something like that, but they look like this. I don't know if you can see it or not. This little structure right here, so the end of it is the bulbil, I believe it's called, and this portion coming out of the soil is the stolon. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I'll leave the names on the screen. So these guys are popping through. This is my Alocasia black velvet. It's getting a new leaf. This one, it's been on the struggle bus for a while. It's kind of gone dormant quite often. But yeah, I kind of, honestly, I really didn't care about this one. I don't like it. The newest leaf is looking really nice, but it was just not doing well. So it was going dormant because I wasn't providing it the proper care. But now that I am keeping an eye on watering, it's getting a consistent light. It's now getting a new leaf. But I'm getting off topic here. So this is the bulbil on a stolon attached to the rhizome. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, so the corms will be in the soil. So I'm going to take this one out of the pot, I think, just to have a peek at if there's any corms in the soil. Okay, this actually makes me pretty nervous just because I don't want to disturb the roots at all. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to loosen it up around the sides. If there's any corms along the sides, I'm going to pluck those out. Okay, don't be angry. Don't be mad. So the roots look really nice. Now I'm going to spin it around here slowly, looking for little corms, which I don't see any, and it's falling apart. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything, so I'm not going to disturb this at all. Everything looks really good. I was hoping to find a little corm in the, maybe here's a few right here. Nothing along the sides, that's what I'm getting at. Nothing on the sides, so I'm going to put this right back in the pot, like so. But right here, I might try and propagate these little things right there. That little bulb thing. See if I can snap that off. Okay, so that's looking like a little baby corm. I don't know what that is, or yeah, it is. That's a little corm right there. So I'm going to take that one. It looks like there's another one right here. This little thing right there. I'm just going to snap that off. So here's another little corm. So there's 2. I'm going to put these in my propagation container. Might be another one right here. Snap that thing off. Where is it? So I'm going to try these and see what happens. Maybe I'll get some new baby little Alocasia Jacklyns. So it looks like I got 4. I can split this one in half. Looks like 5 little corms. Okay, I just did something absolutely ridiculous. So in preparation for my little perlite prop box, I took these little corms over to the sink, and I told myself, wow, that'd be crazy if I rinsed these off and one fell down the drain. That's exactly what happened. One went down the drain. So I'm going to see if I can take off that little piece on the bottom just to see if the corm is sitting at the bottom of the trap, I guess. Otherwise, I'm going to place these in the prop box. I'm just going to kind of nudge these down into the perlite like so. I'm going to keep them all together so that I know these are the Jacklyns. And I'm going to cover them up And yeah, if you want to know how to make a perlite prop box, I have many videos. You can go check that out. But I have another corm right here. I'm not too sure which one that is. And then I have a couple other plants which I'm doing a little secret experiment with. So there, I'm going to set this aside, and it's going to get some light from the grow lights. You can see there's some condensation on the lid of the container, so I know that there's a lot of moisture in here, and the perlite is damp as well. So that's how I tell whether it needs water or not. There's no standing water in the bottom of the container. That's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, you're going to get some rot. I'll definitely be providing some updates down the road with how those Jacklyn corms are doing. I can't believe I lost that one in the bathroom sink. That was absolutely ridiculous, because I told myself, don't do it because you're going to lose one. And sure enough, I lost one. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks again for watching all my videos. Appreciate the support. Take care, everyone. Bye.